Hi everyone. So you're going to need a photo. So you can either print a photo or take your photo into your Google Slides and you can mark it up that way. I'm going to go ahead and draw this in marker just so that you can see it a little bit better. This border that I'm drawing right now is the border of my photo. So I made it a horizontal instead of a vertical image. So you probably don't need to do this portion of this, but I want to make sure that you can see it. So that's what my drawing is going to look like when I'm done. This cookie cutter is going to take up about 2/3 of the overall space. So I'm going to be drawing quite large. What I'd like you to do is to find where the top and the bottom of the image is, just like you did with your shoe. So you want to draw that in, and you don't have to draw all the way across, just where it lines up. And you want to keep those lines nice and horizontal. And then from there, I'm going to find the middle. So make sure that you're really careful about where that middle is. And I'm going to do it in a dashed line. So if I were to do this digitally, what I would do is I'd actually use the dashed line function. So you would insert line, and then you can insert dashed lines. Okay, so you're going to have to draw that out on the newspaper or the newsprint. So we're going to be drawing on newsprint to draw this out. So you got several big sheets of this. You're going to fold it in half so that it's going to be 18 by 24. And you want to do it as carefully as you can and just double check that it's 18 by 24. And then go ahead and use your scissors to cut it. Okay, so just go ahead, use your scissors to cut it in half. Do your best that you can. This is not the final drawing. We are going to do really good quality on this though, so that it will be able to be transferred to the good paper. So I'm going to switch it right now, the share, and I'm going to put up the presentation. This is linked onto your agenda, and you need to draw out whatever size your artwork's going to be. So we're going to use as much of this paper as possible. If you're doing a rectangle like I am, you're going to measure 11 by 14, square is 12 by 12, and panoramic is 9 by 16. And that's all been predetermined by your photo. So if you cropped it to a square, you have to draw 12 by 12. I do not want you drawing smaller than that. And if you do a different size, it just has to be no bigger than 12 by 18, and it needs to use a majority of that 12 by 18 paper. So I'm going to have to go ahead and draw out my borders. I'm going to use a nice dark pencil. To tell you the truth, it doesn't really matter on this rough paper, you know, how dark you draw, because we are going to eventually transfer it onto good paper anyway. But always measure twice. So I measured 14 twice, and then I'm going to measure my 11. So I'm going to measure a tick mark here, a tick mark here, and then I'm going to connect those. So there is part of this paper we're not actually going to use. Right, so we're not going to do anything here or here. So we're going to have extra paper. It's going to be like that on the good paper too, right? Because I did not want to give you a piece of paper that was already cut to a certain size, because I didn't want to force you to do that. I want you to use a shape, rectangle, square, panoramic, that works best for your image. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to look at your photo and decide where the top and the bottom of your object is going to be. So I'm going to put in the top line and put in the bottom line, and I'm just kind of guesstimating about how much I see compared to how much extra space. So this is part of my image, right? So the bottom of my drawing is not touching the very bottom. So I'm kind of guessing. And I'm not even going to clear across here. I'm just making sure that I have enough to be able to figure this out, right? And then from there, I can kind of find the middle. I can use math as well. So it's going to be a little bit bigger than that. And go ahead and put in my dashed line. So please still on this newspaper, figure out where the top and the bottom of your drawing is going to be and where the middle is. Okay, I know that's hard to see because it's gray paper with gray graphite, but I don't want to use the marker in case I make a mistake. Okay, so then what I'm going to have to do is figure out how far over I want to start the corner or the bottom of this. And so I think it's going to probably be about right here. And when I go to start drawing that in, I can work on angle. So this angle of this, I could even use the ruler here, kind of goes back into space like this. And then this part angles back into space like this, right? And it pretty much goes up to that middle line. That's just the bottom of this. So all the way here is the middle of that. And that will get me started with the basic shapes. So then I can go, okay, from there, I've got to have my thickness, right? And I can kind of draw in, you know, where the bottom of her is going to be. Now, obviously, I still need to add this portion, but I can start to work on angles. And as you go, what I want you to be conscientious of is how much visible information you have on the bottom compared to the top. I have very little of mine in this bottom half. Almost all of mine is at the top. So please make sure that you think about where you're going to start, how you're going to draw the angles going back into space, and then really pay attention to that negative space and how shapes overlap.